In the heart of West Africa, a new wind is rising. From the red dust of Ouagadougou to the shores of the Atlantic, the world is watching as one man dares to speak not just for his nation, but for an entire race. His name, Ibrahim Traoré, the youngest president in the world, a soldier who defied the odds, a leader who now stands face to face with history itself. When Traoré spoke, it wasn't just to his people in Burkina Faso. It was a message carried by the wind, across oceans, across generations, reaching the hearts of Black Americans who have long waited to hear words like these. He said, "Africa does not need saving. Africa needs unity." And then he looked directly into the camera, not to Europe, not to the United Nations, but to the descendants of Africa in the West, to those who still carry the blood, the spirit, and the memory of their ancestors. For centuries, Africa was stripped of gold, of people, of pride. Ships crossed the Atlantic carrying millions into bondage. And even when the chains were broken, new ones were made. Economic chains, cultural chains, invisible, but just as heavy. And across the ocean, in America, the children of those who were taken fought their own wars. From the cotton fields of Mississippi to the streets of Harlem, from Martin Luther King's dream to Malcolm X's defiance, they fought to reclaim dignity. But now, something is changing. Because in Africa, a new generation of leaders is rising, unafraid, unbought, and unbowed. And among them stands one man who speaks not just to his people, but to the global African family, Ibrahim Traoré. When he speaks of sovereignty, it's not just about Burkina Faso. It's about every Black nation, every Black community, every person whose history was rewritten by colonizers and whose future was sold in exchange for aid. In his speech, Traoré said something that stunned the world. "We cannot continue to depend on those who enslaved us yesterday to free us today." These words, sharp as a blade, cut through decades of political hypocrisy. And in the echo of those words, a challenge was born to the Black Americans who built nations that never loved them, to the thinkers, the artists, the dreamers, whose roots reach deep into African soil they've never walked. He said, "Come home," not just physically, but spiritually, economically, culturally. Because Africa, he said, is not a place you left. It's a place waiting for you to return to. He spoke of unity beyond borders, of trade between Africans and the diaspora. He envisioned a time when Black Americans would invest not in Wall Street, but in African soil. When African universities would host Black scholars. When the sons and daughters of Harlem and Atlanta would build factories in Ouagadougou and Accra. And he said, "They told us we were poor, but we are sitting on gold. They told us we were weak, but we built civilizations when Europe lived in caves." It was more than a speech. It was a reawakening. Across America, across the Caribbean, and the African diaspora, something stirred. Clips of Traoré's words went viral. Thousands of comments flooded social media. Finally, someone said it. Finally, a leader who speaks truth. From Chicago to Lagos, from Kingston to Dakar, voices began to rise in unity. Because for the first time in decades, Africa wasn't asking for help. It was offering leadership. And to Black Americans, Traoré's message was clear. You are not orphans. You are not outsiders. You are Africa. He called for cooperation, technology, education, defense, and trade, not charity. He urged the diaspora to see Africa as the final frontier of independence, a place not to pity, but to build. Imagine, African engineers working side by side with African American scientists, diaspora investments building schools, hospitals, industries, powered by African minds, a network of Black excellence stretching from Brooklyn to Bamako. That is the vision Traoré painted. But the message didn't please everyone. In Washington, in Paris, in Brussels, they heard his words like a thunderclap. Because a united Africa and a united diaspora is the one thing they fear most. For centuries, The West thrived on Africa's division. Tribes against tribes, nations against nations, black against black. But Traoré is breaking that cycle. He expelled French troops. He nationalized resources. He joined hands with Mali and Niger to create the Alliance of Sahel States, a union, built not on foreign aid but African solidarity. And now he's extending that call to the diaspora, because he knows that Africa's freedom means nothing if her children abroad remain enslaved by debt, discrimination, or despair. This is not just a fight for land. It's a fight for identity, for the right to define what it means to be African, wherever you live. In one of his speeches, Traoré said, "The revolution will not be fought only with guns. It will be fought with education, with art, with unity." He spoke of a global African Renaissance, where history is rewritten by those who lived it, where every child of African descent can look to their homeland not as a forgotten past, but as to the young black Americans watching from afar, tired of injustice, tired of racism, tired of broken promises. Traoré's voice is a beacon, a reminder that you are not powerless, that every movement for freedom from Harlem to Haiti, from Ghana to Georgia, was never separate. They were all chapters of the same story, the story of a people who refused to be erased. So what is Traoré really saying to the black Americans today? He's saying, remember who you are. You are the sons and daughters of kings and queens. Your roots are deeper than chains, stronger than oppression. He's saying, stand with us, not as saviors, but as family. He's saying, Africa is not asking for permission anymore. We are building, we are rising, and this time the doors are open, from the dust of Ouagadougou to the lights of New York, from the fields of Mississippi to the gold mines of Burkina Faso. A single truth echoes louder than ever before, and as the world trembles before a new dawn, one man stands at its center, not as a dictator, not as a rebel, but as a reminder that the spirit of Africa has never died. This is not just the story of a man, it's the rebirth of a people, and it begins now.